Another place of shelter in Gaza destroyed. The Israeli army ordered families staying at this school in Gaza City to get out before launching an airstrike. Today, people returned, searching the bomb site for the few belongings they had left behind when they ran.
Look at us. We are not just numbers and not just pictures. Everyday martyrs like this, martyrs like that, numbers, homes. No, we are not like that. We are human beings.
Local health authorities say at least 38 people were killed today. The Israel Defense Forces say they were striking Hamas targets and command centres and took steps, including the evacuation order, to mitigate the harm to civilians. Mahmoud wants an end to 20 months of fighting.
My message is to stop this war. Enough. We want peace. Enough wars. War is not in our interest and not in anyone else's interest. Enough. We want peace. We are civilian people, ordinary people. We want to live like the rest of the people, like the rest of the nations.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is under mounting pressure at home and from the White House to agree a new ceasefire in Gaza and bring the remaining hostages home. He claims striking Iran has removed a threat to Israel's survival and opened up opportunities in Gaza too to rescue the Israeli hostages.
I want to inform you that we have opened, as you very well know, many new opportunities have opened now as a result of this victory. Many opportunities. Of course, we will also need to resolve the issue of Gaza to defeat Hamas, but I believe we will achieve both missions.
The families of hostages are relieved to hear Benjamin Netanyahu apparently prioritising the return of captives. Previously, he said defeating Hamas was his supreme objective. More than 400 Israeli soldiers have been killed in Gaza and along its borders since the start of the war. The IDF has confirmed British-Israeli soldier Sergeant Yisrael Natan Rosenfeld died yesterday. The 20-year-old was killed in combat in northern Gaza. Benjamin Netanyahu will be convening his security cabinet. He was supposed to be in court this week on the stand in a long-running, often delayed corruption trial. He's accused of charges including bribery and fraud. He denies them all. Judges agreed he could be excused on diplomatic and security grounds for now. Israeli officials are heading to the White House today for talks on Gaza and Iran. President Trump has called on Israel to, quote, make the deal in Gaza. But he's denied working towards his own deal with Tehran after joining Israel's 12-day war against Iran by bombing 3 of its nuclear sites. The United Nations nuclear watchdog says America's strikes merely dented, rather than destroyed, Iran's ability to enrich uranium. But Donald Trump is sticking to his claim the US took out the sites, as he denied Iranian suggestions he wants to negotiate some sort of deal over Iran's nuclear program. He posted, I am not offering Iran anything, nor am I even talking to them since we totally obliterated their nuclear facilities. Today, Tehran said nearly 1,000 Iranians were killed in the war with Israel. The regime says it will never stop enriching uranium. It says it is prepared to negotiate on its nuclear program, but only if the US rules out further strikes. And for now, that's something Donald Trump refuses to do. He says if the intelligence finds Iran's nuclear scientists are enriching uranium to concerning levels, he would absolutely consider bombing Iran again.
Joining me now is The Economist Israel correspondent Anshel Pfeffer. Can you tell me, what is the significance of the corruption trial being delayed?
Well, that's a great question. There isn't supposed to be any connection between the situation in Netanyahu's corruption trial, which has been going on now for 5 or 6 years, and the possibility of a breakthrough in the ceasefire in Gaza. But Donald Trump, who has made diplomacy and war so different in the last few months, seems to have made that connection by posting social media on social media the last couple of days, both these diatribes against the Israeli legal system and promises that there'll soon be a breakthrough also with a ceasefire in Gaza and other Arab countries joining the Abraham Accords process with Israel. Now, what the connection is, we can only imagine that Netanyahu has been talking to him over the phone about both these issues, and Trump has created some kind of a linkage.
Does this decision make peace more or less likely?
Well, the postponement for now is just a technical thing. Netanyahu, the trial after 5 years is at a stage where Netanyahu has taken the stand and he's now answering the questions of the prosecution. So it's an uncomfortable stage of the trial for him. But he's already in that stage, and the postponement now is just a week after the judges have been convinced by the heads of Israeli security branches that there's something very important that the prime minister needs to deal with, and therefore they have to wait until they resume the trial. I can't say, I don't think anybody can say at this point whether this is going to be a longer than a week or two postponement. It's not the first time this trial has been postponed. It's been postponed numerous times, both for security-related issues, wars, and going back a few years, it was postponed a number of times because of the COVID epidemic. So this is a trial which has been so many times delayed. I don't think this is going to end the trial in any way. But it's part of the mood music here in Israel right now, in this kind of bizarre period after the war has ended with Iran, and we're still waiting to see if there's going to be a breakthrough also which could end the war in Gaza. The war in Gaza has been going on much longer. The war in Iran was 12 days. The war in Gaza is now 21 months.
So does this strengthen Netanyahu's position, and how has it been received in the country?
Well, I think many Israelis are sick and tired of this trial because it's been going on for so long. But I don't think it makes Netanyahu more popular. The fact that he sort of needs daddy to come along, daddy in this case is Donald Trump, and kind of try and get him off the stand, and that's probably not going to work. I mean, the judges and the prosecution are adamant that the trial will go on, even though this is a temporary delay. As for Netanyahu's standing, he has been at rock bottom in the polls for a long time now, certainly since October 7, when Israel was caught by surprise by the Hamas attack and massacre. So Netanyahu's standing is only now beginning somewhat to recover, perhaps because of the fact that the war in Iran is perceived by Israelis to have been successful. But we're still not seeing him in the polls winning a possible election. So Netanyahu now needs to juggle a number of things. There's a question of what is going to happen with the war in Gaza. There's a question of what was achieved in the war with Iran. And then on his own personal level, he needs to decide when to try and call an election. There's another year and a bit until elections have to be held, but he'll try and call them at a time which is advantageous for him. And then he has his own court case to deal with, and they all seem to be connected, though they shouldn't be connected.
As long as Netanyahu has political challenges at home, does that make peace abroad less likely?
Well, the domestic and foreign policies are always connected. And so Netanyahu's calculations on whether to perhaps attack Iran again, whether to accept a ceasefire in Gaza, and when he's going to hold an election, these things are connected. Certainly, if he were to agree now to a ceasefire in Gaza, he would very likely lose the far-right parties in his coalition who basically want perpetual war in Gaza. So if they're no longer if they're no longer in his government, he has no majority, and then he's much more vulnerable for the opposition imposing an early election. So I think Netanyahu understands that the moment he agrees to a ceasefire in Gaza, then the election clock starts ticking as well.
And what has been the response, if any, from families who are hoping to get a hostage deal and see their loved ones return?
Well, they're certainly very anxious of anything which could cause the war to continue dragging on. We know that there are at least 20 live hostages still assumed to be in Gaza. They've been there for 21 months now, and we've seen how dangerous things are in Gaza for ordinary Palestinian civilians. The same is true, obviously, of the hostages. For them, really, anything that prolongs their ordeal by another day for them is creating an enormous pressure. And it's not just the families. We've seen in poll after poll now for 6 or 7 months in Israel that a big majority of Israelis, at least 2/3 of the Israeli public, wants to end this war. That's the overwhelming majority of Israelis, but Netanyahu's coalition is based on this far-right constituency who are a minority, but they want the war to continue. So Netanyahu is now reliant on a minority of Israelis who want the war to continue for his own political survival.
Anshel, thank you very much for your time and for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.